The ugly duckling. On beautiful spring morning, a mother duck sat on her nest, under her very warm. And snug lay 5 round eggs, the mother duck was very still as she sat waiting for her 5 eggs to hatch. At last she gave a quack of joy and sprang off the nest. The eggs in the nest were moving around, and from inside them came the sound of pecking and scratching. The mother duck bent her head to watch. Then one eggshell after another cracked open. Out tumbled 1, 2, 3, 4 ducklings, as yellow as butter, as soft as down, with eyes as bright as black cherries. With soft little peeps they climbed out of the nest and waddled into the tall grass. What a beautiful family, thought the mother as she looked at her 4 ducklings. But then she looked sadly back at the nest and shook her head, for there lay the 5th and biggest egg, which had not yet hatched. It was a dull white egg, not at all like the others, but she sat down again and waited. In a moment a strong bill broke through the shell, then a head appeared, but the duckling that stumbled out of the eggshell was not small and yellow and downy as its brothers had been. Instead it was big and white and clumsy. "Honk," said the new duckling, eager to be liked by the mother duck. "Goodness," said the mother duck in horror. "This little duckling does not sound like any child of mine." "Peep," said the other ducklings. "He's funny looking. We don't want to play with him." And they waddled after their mother down the path to the pond. The ugly duckling couldn't understand why no one would play with him, or why they called him ugly. He wanted to be friends, so he followed the others down to the pond. There was the mother duck swimming in the clear water. On her back sat the 4 little ducklings, having a lovely ride. "Honk," called the ugly duckling in his friendliest voice, hopping for a ride too. But the mother duck just scolded at him and told him to go away. The poor ugly duckling sat alone on the bank of the pond. Why won't they play with me? He wondered sadly. Why do they call me ugly? And big tears filled his eyes and dropped into the water below him. He watched the rings they made as they fell. Suddenly he saw a strange and frightening sight. They're all blurred and twisted. With the ripples was his own reflection. "Oh dear," cried the ugly duckling. "I am indeed ugly. I will run and hide where no one will have to look at me." So he turned away from the sunny pond and started into the dark forest. How frightened and lonely he felt there. In the deep forest, silent shadows swayed gloomily beneath the trees as a chilly wind moved their branches to and fro. Suddenly, there was a rush of wings overhead, and into the woods flew a whole family of young pheasants. "Oh," thought the ugly duckling, "perhaps they will play with me," and he started towards them hesitantly, hoping that they would not scold him and leave him. But the birds in the bushes flew up as he approached and disappeared between the trees. "That is because I am so ugly," thought the ugly duckling, and he shut his eyes to keep back the tears. And so it went on the first day, and the second day, and for many days after that. Once, as he swam alone through the rushes, he met a duck who smiled at him and bobbed pleasantly on the green water. At last, thought the ugly duckling happily, "I have found a friend," and he swam up to the new duck and spoke to him timidly. But the new duck only kept smiling and would not answer. The ugly duckling did not guess that his new friend was only a painted toy duck sign children had set on the water and allowed to float away. It was lonely having no one to talk to, but a toy duck was better than none, and so the ugly duckling played with him. But one day, when the water on the pond was ruffled with waves that the wind made, the toy duck turned suddenly with the current and struck the ugly duckling sharply on the head with his painted bill. Weakly, the ugly duckling swam to shore and rested on the bank. He watched his smiling friend bob off across the water until he was out of sight. He suddenly understood that the little toy duck had no heart at all, and therefore could never love him. The pain in his head was great, but the pain in his heart was greater still. The ugly duckling could no longer keep back his tears, and he cried and cried. Spring turned into summer.
How
Summer
beautiful
into
he is.
fall, and after fall came the cold snows. Ugly duckling grew bigger and bigger. During the long winter, he had to work hard
Who
to
is that lovely bird? How
stay
beautiful
alive, for
he
food was
is.
scarce. Still he was
Who is that
alone, and he grew
lovely
very sad.
bird? How
Then
beautiful
one day,
he is.
when the trees around the
Who
pond were
is
soft
that
with new
lovely
green leaves,
bird?
and
How beautiful
the
he
forest
is.
was alive with spring, something
Who is that
wonderful
lovely
happened.
bird?
The
How
ugly duckling was
beautiful
swimming
he is.
the rushes at the edge of the pond when there flew over the water the most beautiful bird he had even seen. After it came another and another. The ugly duckling hardly dared to breathe for fear these new creatures would see him and fly away. What can they be? He wondered, enchanted, as he watched them drop on the clear surface. Surely they are the kings of birds, for they are the most
King in
beautiful
disguise.
creatures I have ever seen. Drawn by their grace, hardly realizing what he was doing, the ugly duckling swam nearer and nearer. Suddenly, one of the great birds raised its little neck and looked right at him. The ugly duckling quickly turned his head to hide. He could not bear to have these beautiful creatures see how ugly he was. But the great swan, for that was what he was, cried to the others, "Here's a new one." And all the other swans gathered around. The ugly duckling sang, "A new one, and the most beautiful of us all," and they bowed their heads before him, glancing into the smooth water. The ugly duckling, or the king of the swans as we must call him now, saw his own beautiful reflection, how he had changed. His neck had grown curved and graceful, his feathers sleek and white, and his head was marked with handsome black lines. Yes, he was beautiful indeed. As he floated across the water with his new friends, the mother duck said to her, "Ducklings, who is that lovely bird? How beautiful he is." The family of pheasants said to each other, "How wonderful it would be to be so graceful and so strong." Even the little painted duck looked impressed as the swan sailed past. The ugly duckling was very happy now that he had friends, and he kindly forgave the ducks and the pheasants, and even the little painted duck for the way they had treated him. And as for them, they had learned that you never know when you may meet a king in disguise.